Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 update by Heerak for September 30th, 2020. Today is Happy Chewing Gum Day. Yeah. You know, you chew gum everywhere. You chew gum when you don't think people are looking. You chew gum when people are looking. Some people like to blow bubble, like in the photo there. As you know, I taught fifth graders at Savoy Elementary School in Washington, D.C., which is in Anacostia neighborhood, Ward 8. Um, and my school was 100% African American students. Um, and it's a part of the District of Columbia Public Schools, DC Public Schools, an urban public school district. Um, and yeah, I love my kids. My kids, I try to help them and train them and educate them to make them great. And I visited their families and their homes. I do home visitations of my students, um, because I care about them, obviously. Um, yeah, so, you know, um, my students sometimes chew gum, and schools have strict policy against chewing gum. And you know, um, some of the teachers, I'm not saying it's a very elementary school, but in other schools, some of the teachers are really strict about chewing gum, um, and also about going to the bathroom. So they won't let any students go to the bathroom, you know, uh, or if they chew gum, they get really, really harsh punishment. So yeah, I generally let my students go to the bathroom. I think that irritates some of the teachers who have a strict policy against not sending students to the bathroom. Because there are students who linger in the bathroom and waste time. And that's never good. Um, but when some students have to go, they have to go. I don't want my children to develop bladder problems. So, I try to tell them, you need to go and come back right away. And after a while, your students, so you kind of try to direct them, but also meet their needs. So I'm a very good elementary school teacher. I'm licensed in DC. I'm also licensed as a licensed teacher in Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama. Yeah, and these licenses mean something, obviously, because you have to get fingerprinted and background checked for every time that you have um, an application for a license. So for every one of these teacher licenses, I had to get finger checked and background checked. License for Washington, D.C., license for, um, you listen to music from Peru, um, traditional Peruvian music and dance. And so it's recording of a live performance, uh, performance in Peru for Peruvians. So it's very authentic. There are some commentaries by the MC. Um, yeah, nice music, isn't it? I try to introduce you to multiculturalism and diverse music in my show, COVID-19 Update by Iran. As you know, I'm a member of the Standing Committee on Global Citizenship for National Council of Teachers of English. So I have a 3-year board membership, committee membership. And, so I try to help English teachers from pre-kindergarten all the way to university English professors to understand what global citizenship is. Because it's not something that people are born into. Um, you know, um, and they may not really understand what global citizenship means or multiculturalism means. So I'm an expert in that field. So I try to help, um, you know, uh, thousands of English teachers in every state, city, town, village, rural area, farm community in America, all 50 states and all U.S. territories, including Puerto Rico and Guam, understand what global citizen means. And obviously, it's an official position, uh, and I'm holding this national official position of leadership in global citizenship for multiculturalism. So I'm an expert by definition. Um, so I'm happy to share and expose you to diverse music, culture from around the world in this show because I'm supportive of multicultural. I'm an immigrant from South Korea. As you know, I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia State District, which includes Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County in Virginia. And Arlington has over 100 different nations represented. So, so I'm the perfect candidate, being an expert on multiculturalism, official leader of the concept of global citizenship that I help every English teacher in every school, every college in the United States to help them understand in my official capacity as a committee member of Senate Committee of Global Citizenship. And so I'm happy to play an international and national leadership role. I am an alumnus of University of Pennsylvania. So you see my emblem, University of Pennsylvania emblem on my mask here. It says, Lege sine moribus bene, law without morality is meaningless. And that's the motto of University of Pennsylvania. That is absolutely true. But, every culture has their own value system. And most of the ethnic groups in America are very conservative. Like Latinos from South America and Central America are against abortion and gay marriage. These are part of their cultural heritage that they want to preserve in the United States. So even though most Latinos are registered Democrats, they hold to this traditional value system. They don't want their children to become homosexuals or not get married, not have children. So this is an important value system for Latinos in the United States of America. So Latinos are the largest minority population in America, and number two is African Americans. The morality of the value system of Latino communities should be respected. They value their Catholic, or some of them are Assemblies of God or Baptist, evangelicals, and basically 100% of Latinos are Christians. So they have these very strong value systems based on the Bible, based on their cultural heritage. And some of the Latinos are becoming Republican because they are anti-abortion, they are anti-homosexuality or gay marriage. So that's happening in Virginia's 8th district as well, in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County. You cannot win if you keep emphasizing abortion, keep emphasizing gay marriage. You're going to drive the Latinos away in the state of Virginia because Latin American cultural heritage is very conservative. It's based on Christianity, and it's based on and so it's based on the Bible, and it's based on heritage. So Latinos in Virginia, they want to have their own children married and to see their grandchildren. So this is a very important part of Latino culture in Arlington, Latino culture in Alexandria, Latino culture in Fairfax County, Latino culture in Falls Church. So if there are progressives, white liberal progressives, who tried to impose their value system on Latinos and practice cultural imperialism by saying that Latinos in Virginia's 8th district must accept homosexuality or abortion. Then obviously that's cultural imperialism. And by definition, that is racism, right? Because cultural imperialism is racist. White liberal progressives who are racially white imposing their value system on Latinos who are dark skinned, right? So it's a racist, racist movement to impose white progressivism on people of color who are conservative, immigrants who are conservative, to conservative value systems from their own country. And it is cultural imperialism because they're trying to impose whiteness, white privilege, white way of looking at the world, white progressive way of looking at the world onto Latino cultures. So there's a big resentment growing among Latino communities in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County who are very conservative culturally and religiously, either Catholics or evangelical Christians. That's where most Latinos are. So many of these Latinos are abandoning the Democratic Party and joining the Republican Party because they see that Republican Party is supporting pro-life and supporting family, marriage between a man and a woman, which they want for their children, because they want to have grandchildren. So there's a massive exodus of Latinos in all 50 states from a Democratic Party into Republican Party right now. And that's happening, that's been happening slowly, but now it's exponentially growing. And so you will see that in 2020 election, Latinos in Virginia voting against the Democratic Party and voting for Republican Party. You're going to see a mass transition developing in certain areas, but in full-fledged growth in other areas in the United States. Same with the Black community. The reason why you see so many Black Republican candidates now are that they resent the fact that there are white liberal progressive prioritizing gay marriage, homosexuality, LGBTQ rights, and abortion. So many African Americans are saying, we didn't sign up for this. We're Democrats. We've been Democrats for centuries or, for decades. But we are Christians, either Catholics or evangelical Protestant. And we don't want to have our children killed through abortion and they have more problem with homosexual marriage, gay marriage or homosexuality than abortion. But, they have problem with both, many African Americans, so they didn't really mind when Democratic Party had that in the background and did not really emphasize it. But unfortunately for the Democratic Party, starting with Hillary Clinton, they started to kind of prioritize and put that at the front of the party platform, gay marriage and homosexuality and abortion. And so Blacks started to trickle out of the Democratic Party because they're like, we didn't sign up for this. When these were in the background, it wasn't really bothering us, but now they're putting this in front. And so, so you have massive exodus of Black Americans from the Democratic Party that started with 2016 Hillary Clinton. Because Hillary Clinton prioritized homosexuality and gay marriage and abortion. And you see that in her debates. And then it became accelerated because during Democratic presidential debates, the Democratic Party prioritized transgenderism and abortion and homosexuality, gay marriage. And so unfortunately the Democratic Party, the extreme positions in the fringes that were being centralized and put into the front by the Democratic Party leadership was forcing out a lot of Black Americans who identify themselves as Christians, who respect the Bible, who love Jesus. The Black Gospel Choir culture. So they're like, they were at a breaking point and they're like, we had enough. So a lot of African Americans left the Democratic Party. And if you see them, like you have blacks on the Republican ticket in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, in local elections all over America now. It's a national movement, what Hitler called zeitgeist, spirit of the age, meaning they are spontaneously resenting white liberal progressives imposing themselves on black culture. Because black culture is Christian culture, it's a gospel culture. So a lot of black pastors are reacting to it at the local, state, and national levels. So they are preaching against what white liberal progressives in the Democratic Party is putting forth. And you saw Joe Biden. He understands that a lot of even white Democratic Party members do not identify with the fringe extreme positions of the white progressives in the Democratic Party. So you saw the debate yesterday, and Joe Biden is trying to distance himself from the extremism that he sees within the white progressives of the Democratic Party, because he knows he could lose if he embraces the extremism, because he's going to lose a lot of white working class Americans. You know, they were willing to kind of overlook things when abortion and gay marriage were like in the fringes of the Democratic Party. But as they were centralized in front of the Democratic Party and became the face of the Democratic Party, white working class Americans started to leave the Democratic Party in droves. And that's why President Trump won in 2016, because white working class who traditionally voted for Democratic Party refused to vote for the Democratic Party. Because they're like, that's not us. We don't support abortion because we're Catholics or we're evangelical Christians. And we don't support gay marriage. We want our children to get married in a Catholic church, have their first baptism, confirmation, you know. So a lot of working class Americans who have been lifelong Democrats jumped ship to vote for President Trump in 2018. Some of them who hated Trump. I mean, you know, I was at Georgetown University from 2018 to 2020 as clinical nurse leader, master's degree student in nursing school at Georgetown University. And, you know, I graduated on August 24, 2020 with my cohort members, clinical nurse leader, 25 of them. Oh, hey guys, good to see you guys. I'm sure all of them are watching this show because everybody watches this show. And at Georgetown, I was very actively involved in the communal life of Georgetown. As you know, I was the vice president of graduate student government from May 2019 to May 2020. So I played a major leadership role at the university level. I met all, you know, all the major leaders of Georgetown University, vice presidents, the president, you know, department chairs, deans, you know, so I worked a lot with the official administration leadership of Georgetown. And also obviously with many student organizations in the graduate school and also in undergraduate school. And I worked with, you know, GUSA leaders, graduate Georgetown University Student Union. Norman Francis is the president. We were very close. I liked him. You know, we got along really well. And so, you know, at Georgetown, you know, I got very actively involved with the communal life there. And well, obviously, there's going to be fringe white progressives who are trying to impose themselves on the majority, silent majority, you know? So what's happening at the national level is happening at the local levels, state levels, and also in, you know, at university levels. But majority of the people are conservative socially. They want to find a husband, get married if they're a woman, have children. You know, people are people, you know, and people have always been people since the beginning of time, right? They're biologically wired to form a family and procreate, you know? That's just All animals are biologically wired that way. And so human beings are biologically wired that way as well. You can't conquer biology, biological dictates. And that's where the gay movement don't understand. They cannot conquer the biological dictate because biology is science, right? It's nature. That's how, it's a cycle of life. Um, so gay movements have never understand that since the beginning of time. They're ideologically driven and they're blinded by their personal experiences and personal beliefs, right? Gay people think like homosexuals should have all the rights, that world should accept homosexuals. You know, that's they're influenced by that kind of ideology, you know. But normal everyday people do not function from ideology. Most normal people, like over 90% of the people in any country, they function from biological dictates. What is refers to as physiological needs, the need for food, shelter, um, and generally when you form a family and you have husband and wife working together with children, it becomes a family unit that is functional in society. And everybody who has a family unit, their priority is to make sure they feed themselves and their children. They have a shelter over their head. They pay rent every month to their apartment. So these are functionally the priorities for anybody, regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of what kind of job they have, regardless of what kind of education level they have, regardless of which country they're from. Their physiological needs are the priority. Um, and so theory of motivation has always emphasized that physiological needs, basic needs, biological dictates for shelter, food, and warmth, or clothing for human beings, but warmth for animals. These are what drives um, the natural universe. And so gay people, lesbians, transgender, LGBTQ people don't understand that everyone in the world, except for very few exceptionals, are driven by their biological needs. They transcend any kind of political ideology, any kind of religious affiliation, any kind of personal belief system. Majority of the population, I'm saying 90% or more, are driven by biological dictates. So at the base level, it's food, shelter, warmth, or clothing. But the next step is obviously love and belonging. Like a single woman wants to find a man to love her, and that is a biological dictate. So majority of the women have this need. The same with the man. A man wants to find a woman to love and marry, right? So that's a biological dictate. They want to form a family. They want to have a child. Most people say having a child is their greatest experience, greatest joy, the best thing that happened in their life. So they're driven by these biological dictates. Women wanting to have children of their own, men wanting to have children with the woman they love. These drive people, and these transcend political ideology. These transcend religious positions. These transcend personal belief systems and intellectualism of all kinds. It doesn't matter how educated you are. You may bachelor's, master's, PhD, several doctorates. It doesn't matter. You're driven by these biological dictates. At the fundamental level, we call that instinct, right? You are wired at the most elemental level, at the DNA structural level, by these biological dictates that cannot be changed. Obviously, cells can become cancerous. So there is always going to be exception to the rule or aberration, but aberrations and exceptions to the rules enforce the rule. So 90% of the population are going to be driven by their biological dictate. But as you know, sometimes 1% of the population controls 99% of the wealth. So you have a situation in the world where many people in power are trying to impose their positions on 90%. And that's what's happening with white progressivism. Less than 0.1%, that's less than 1%. So less than 3 million Americans are devout white progressives. So these less than 0.1%, I would say 300,000, less than 300,000 Americans who have positions in influence like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, I hate her. As you know, I say Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it's good that she died because that saved a lot of babies' lives, right? And hopefully we can confirm somebody in the U.S. Senate who will save babies' lives by overturning Roe versus Wade. That's what I'm personally hoping. And that's my political platform, right? I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. I'm an official candidate. My lawsuit against Governor Northam and Virginia Department of Election is in Arlington Circuit Court. I'm official. I'm hoping the court will rule in my favor to force Virginia Governor Northam to put my ballot, Virginia Board of Election, to put my name on the Virginia ballot by November 3rd. So I'm an official candidate because my lawsuit is in the courts. So, you know, vote for me for Virginia's 8th District. Write my name in Heerak Christian Kim on both ballot box. So as soon as Arlington Circuit Court makes a ruling to force Virginia Department of Election to put my name on the ballot, it will be on there. But some of you are voting early. Some of you are voting by absentee ballot and may have received your absentee ballot already. My name may not be on there, but I'm an official candidate. I mean, my lawsuit against Virginia Board of Elections is in Arlington Circuit Court. It's a few miles from here, where I live. Yeah, but you know, as you know, because of coronavirus, everything has slowed down. The mail system has slowed down, the court system has slowed down, everything has slowed down. Which is unfortunate, but that's just the case. And so, yeah, but you know, vote for me, obviously. But the important thing to remember is less than 300,000 people in America are dedicated to imposing their aberrant, what I would call abnormal value system on the over 90% of Americans. And Americans are resenting it, they're angry at it. And that's exhibiting itself not only in the white population, who have massively jumped the Democratic Party to vote for President Trump, who oppose transgenderism and abortion, which resonated with the American people. So 2016 saw many working class American white Democrats jumping ship. More are going to jump ship in 2020 because they were watching these Democratic debates, you know, trying to prop up transgenderism and piss them off. You know, the majority of Americans, they don't want that. So when you centralize something aberrant and weird like transgenderism, most normal Americans, like normal because majority of Americans feel that way, think that it's weird to be a transgender person. And that's how most of Americans feel. So the normalcy is determined by what majority feel, and what majority feel will be dictated by their biological dictates, which are inborn instinctive processes that is controlled by animal instinct and need for procreation, you know? Procreation needs drives animal populations, that's instinctive. You don't have to teach anybody that it's by instinct, that people and animals are driven by this since the beginning of time. They're wired that way. It's cycle of life. Biology textbook shows us. So science supports the biological dictates. And when the Democratic Party tries to impose their white, progressive, liberal value system, people are going to react. And so they're going to lose a lot of people who refuse to support them. Some people go along with it because they've always been Democrats for a while, but eventually they're going to fall away. Because obviously people are controlled by their biological dictates. That's why President Trump won in 2016. And that's why a lot of Democrats are not going to vote for Biden in 2020. I mean, there's no way Biden's going to become president because people don't want transgenderism to proliferate in America. That's true in Virginia's 8th district as well. Nobody wants their kid to get an operation and cut off his penis and become a woman and surgically implant a vagina there. I mean, like, how many parents do you think in Virginia's 8th district want this? Do you want this? You may identify yourself as a liberal. You don't want this for your son. So why do you suppose, other people want this for their son? You see what I'm saying? So you just have to use common sense to understand why Virginia's 8th district, regardless of their political party, regardless of their religion, regardless of their education level, don't want their child to cut off their penis and surgically implant a vagina there, right? I mean, you can't understand that over 90% of the parents don't want this proactively, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how liberal they are, they don't want this. And so it doesn't matter what their political party is. So when people push transgenderism to white liberal progressives who are living in their little bubble among other white liberal progressives, the little political bubble in Washington, D.C., it may make sense to them. Like this whole system of, vulnerable populations, blah, 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 blah. It may make sense to them in their little bubble. But outside of that bubble, it doesn't make sense. Because people are driven by biological dictates. They don't want their child to become homosexual and not have children. They don't want their son to have a surgery to cut off his penis and implant the vagina. There are biological dictates that drive the animal instinct or inborn instinct, which trump any kind of education, which trump any kind of religious institution, which trump any kind of intellectualism. So when you push people away from their animal instinct or biological dictates, what is inborn, you're going to lose legitimacy. You cannot artificially maintain a legitimacy. And that's what Hitler understood, and that's why he was able to galvanize the German population to support him. Because it doesn't matter how many times you ask people to condemn white supremacists, if the majority of the people want white supremacy, the majority will always win, right? And that's what Hitler understood, and that's what President Trump understands, right? Just because white progressive, 300,000 of them at most, want you to condemn white supremacy, you're not going to have legitimacy. You're just going to lose your legitimacy, right? So, most white Americans do not have problem with white supremacists. I mean, most Asians don't have problem with white supremacists. Most Black Americans understand that there are a lot of white supremacists and they don't really care. But many Hispanics are whites themselves. And some Hispanics are white supremacists. There are Hispanic whites who are white supremacists in America. And Hispanics, they don't really care about white supremacy. It's not part of their personal experience. Like most African Americans will not run into a white supremacist. If they run into white supremacists at work, the white supremacist is not going to tell their Black coworker, I'm a white supremacist. I'm sure there are a lot of white supremacists at Virginia Hospital Center. I'm sure there are a lot of white supremacists at Fairfax Hospital. I'm sure there's a lot of white supremacists in Innova Alexandria Hospital. I'm sure there are a lot of white supremacists at MedStar Georgetown Hospital, but they're not going to tell you they're white supremacists. If they're card-carrying Aryan Nation members, they're going to tell their members. They're not going to tell you, right? If they're KKK, white American, they're not going to tell you, right, at work. I mean, it's like people are people. They have their personal things. I mean, I don't know who all the Star Trek fans are in Virginia Hospital Center, because it's their personal thing. I mean, and if they don't share, you're never going to know. There are some things they're willing to share with their coworkers. There are some things they're not willing to share with their coworkers. You're never going to know what everyone thinks about everything. And many people will lie about it just to get along, But personally, they don't feel the way that they say they believe to their coworkers. People lie all the time. And that's what Hitler understood. Hitler understood that people are people, and you cannot force them to abandon their value system, and to a certain extent, Dewey, who talked about ethics, understood this. John Dewey, said ethics is determined by majority position. Ethics is not absolute. Ethics is driven by the majority. So according to John Dewey's system of ethics, and America's ethics system is dominated by John Dewey's value system. According to John Dewey's value system, ethics cannot be seen as absolutely good or absolutely evil. According to John Dewey's value system, ethics is whatever the majority says is ethical at that time. So in Nazi Germany, what is ethical according to John Dewey, if we follow John Dewey's logical determinants, is that in Nazi Germany, Nazism is what is ethical because that's what the majority said is ethical. During Enlightenment Germany, 1800 Germany, homosexuality proliferated, and there was kind of radical tolerance and even encouragement for homosexuality, like in certain areas of America, like among white liberals, white progressives. And so that was considered ethical and normative in 1800 Germany. And some say that drove average, moderate Germans into extremist right-wing positions. Because in 1800 Germany, Jews were considered, an ideal. Marrying a Jew was considered a good thing. It's an ideal thing to do. As you know, Ivanka Trump married Heerak Christian and converted to Judaism because she thought it was a good thing to do. So this was like 1800 Germany. In 1900s Germany, German Medical Association of all the doctors in Germany, in 1929, they decided as a professional organization. We have American Medical Association here, AMA. So German Medical Association decided as a professional association of medical doctors that they will not allow any Jews who are medical doctors in Germany to practice as Jews or as doctors. So the Medical Association of Germany in 1929 passed a resolution saying that no Jew who's a medical doctor can practice as a doctor. Now, because of their decision, millions of German Jews, Germans who were sick could not get the treatment that they needed to improve their health. Some ended up dying because there were a lot of doctors, Jewish doctors at the time. But German doctors felt, and they were reacting against the liberalism of 1800s in Germany, the Enlightenment period. They felt that it was worth the risk. It was a risk-benefit analysis. They said, the damage that Jews are doing in Germany as leaders, hurting Christianity, hurting white Germans, they felt was so great that it was worth it to risk death of Germans. Obviously, they prefer not to risk their death, but they thought minimizing Jewish power was so important and was a social value, an ethical value, that they were going to risk increasing death rates of Germans to disenfranchise Jews from positions of influence and power in Germany, and to not allow any doctors to practice as a doctor. They took away their practice professional skill. I mean, they were skilled, but they weren't allowed to practice as doctors officially. I mean, they could practice in the black market. So this happened in 1929. So it wasn't a legal decision, but the professional organization said, no, Jewish doctors cannot practice as doctors. And as you know, licensing bodies in countries are led by professional organization members and leaders. So obviously, it basically made the licenses of medical doctors who are Jewish in America, I mean in Germany, useless. So there were Jewish doctors who were like #1 in their field, like cardiology or liver diseases, who could have saved hundreds of lives if they continued to practice, but they were not allowed to practice anymore just because they were Jewish. So according to John Dewey's value system of ethics, which is the dominant influence on American ethical value system, majority gets to decide what value system it is, what ethics is. So you see, because the majority decided that, and these, like a century before that, or even 50 years before that, these are same people, or even 30 years before that. So these may be the same doctors who used to embrace Judaism and marrying Jews as a cultural value 30 years ago or 40 years ago. Because, some doctors practice for 40, 50 years. These are the same people who decided to forbid any Jew from practicing as a medical doctor. So this is part of German Jewish history, part of German national history. And the Professional Association of Germany for doctors, medical doctors, said we do not want Jews to practice as medical doctor. We want this to be certified as law. So they lobby in Congress, German equivalent in Congress, which is Bundestag, to make it illegal for any German doctor to practice in Germany. So not only did they want to take German professional license away for practicing medicine from Jews in Germany who've been there for centuries. Some Jews have lived in Germany for 500 years, some for 1,000 years. Just because they identify themselves as Jewish. Because obviously a lot of Jews convert to Christianity, and they say they're not Jewish. How are you going to know they're not Jewish or Jewish? Right? You're not going to know. So there are lots of Nazi officers who were Jewish who converted to Christianity like generations ago. Jews have lived in Germany for 2,000 years, since the destruction of Jerusalem Temple in 70 AD by the Romans. Many Jews left Israel and some settled in Germany. So some Jews have been in Germany for 2,000 years. Some of them were killed in the Holocaust, So those who maintain Judaism for 2,000 years, and there are people who have done that. According to Dewey's ethical value system, majority decides what values and ethics is. And so the mistake that the Democratic Party is making is not only are they driving people away from their party, obviously, if Hillary Clinton can win, there's no woman in America who can win in a Democratic Party ticket, right? I mean, find someone who's a household name like Hillary Clinton, who had the political respect of all the Democrats like Hillary. I mean, there's nobody like Hillary, even now. So if Hillary Clinton cannot win, no one can win. You know what I'm saying? In the Democratic Party. So you know, but this is history. I'm a historian, as you know. I was professionally trained at UCLA as a historian. So I'm just describing what actually happened in history as an illustration of the concept of legitimacy, which is a historical concept. You don't become legitimate because you have titles. You know, legitimacy in history is a concept that says, you know, you have a mandate. Obviously, you know, if you're appointed to a position, you have a functional legitimacy, but not an absolute legitimacy. Because you can have a title, like, you know, Jewish doctors in Germany had title as chief cardiologist, chief attendant, attendant, you know, in a German hospital. Someone was a professor, dean of medical school in Germany, right? You know, you have your title, but, and that's functional legitimacy, but it can be taken away at any time. And so when the German Medical Doctors Association said no Jew can practice as a medical doctor, every attending physician, you know, because every hospital has an attending physician, they could no longer practice medicine because you cannot practice without your license, right? So it doesn't matter how famous you are, if you don't have your license, you cannot practice. And your license can be taken away. And that's what German Medical Doctors Association did. Professional Association of Medical Doctors in Germany. They took all the licenses away de facto from all the Jews who are doctors, thereby not, it doesn't matter if your university supports you, right? You could be at Harvard Medical School as the dean of Harvard Medical School. If he loses his medical license, he can no longer be the dean of Harvard Medical School because he can't do anything. Or professor of oncology or professor of cardiology, right? And your license can be taken away for any slew of reasons. In Germany, they took it away just because you're a Jew, right? That was collectively decided by German Medical Association, Medical Doctors Association. So when they took the license away effectively, like de facto, every German Jewish expert of medicine, every German Jewish doctor who's teaching in university, working as an attending or chief of the hospital, they were no longer allowed to practice. So the hospitals could do nothing. Universities could do nothing. And so that happened in Germany, actually in 1929. This is part of German history. This is part of history of medicine. So these things can happen in history. Obviously, Albert Einstein, the genius, he was teaching at University of Rome in Germany as one of a tenured professor. And if you're tenured, you cannot lose your tenure. And when Germany decided as a country, as the majority of the people, it's not like people just passed laws at the top. This is like they had the consent of the people. When Germany as a nation decided as a nation with the consent of the people, and you saw Hitler rallies, I mean, they're all filled with people. People love Hitler in Germany. Like people love, a lot of people love Trump. I mean, Trump is not as popular in America as Hitler was in Germany, but I mean, Hitler, you know, he crossed all party lines to galvanize and unify Germany as a Third Reich, right? So he's a historical tour de force. You know, there are few people who could do that in history, combine all different political factions under one platform. I mean, there are people who've done that in history besides Hitler, but Hitler is one of these people who've done it. So he's a very interesting figure in history. It's not like people are all dumb. They all thought rationally and made their decision. It's like, you know, Black Americans who leave Democratic Party, the party of their ancestors, the party they've been part of for decades of their life to run as a Republican. People make rational decisions to abandon a loyalty that they've been loyal to for their life, all throughout their life. So obviously Democrats are making a serious mistake for trying to force people to accept abortion and transgenderism and gay marriage because it goes against biological dictates. So procreate, you know, and so I mean, it makes rational, logical sense why Trump won. Because Trump really did not have to do anything. Democratic Party did everything for him, right? You see, yesterday they were trying to get Trump to abandon white supremacy. The majority of America is white. Majority of white people don't have problem with white supremacists. They have cousins who are white supremacists. I mean, you know, I'm sure a lot of white people in Virginia have cousins who are KKK. You know, and some have cousins who are Aryan Nation, you know? I don't think most of the people in Virginia have a problem with KKK or Aryan Nation if they're white. It's about social association, you know? You have friends who are KKK. You have friends who are married to a woman whose father is KKK. You know, I mean, geez. You know, it's not like everybody thinks like a white liberal progressive, you know? That's like less than 300,000 people in America, and countries filled with 300 million Americans. You know, it's less than 1% of America. This is why I never condemn white supremacy, because you know you're not going to go anywhere in America condemning white supremacists when majority of Americans are white people. And that's why President Trump yesterday in the debate, he won that debate because he did not condemn white supremacy. You're not gonna get everybody to support you among the majority of whites by condemning white supremacy. You know, and look at Hillary Clinton condemning white supremacists. Look what got her. You know, McCain, you know, he tried to condemn white supremacists. He did not win because even Republicans who are white are not going to vote for someone, many of these white people are not going to vote for someone who condemns white supremacy. You know, I mean, just that's the way it is. You know, because people feel it. You know, if you're white and, you know, I'm not talking about white liberal progressive. I'm talking about normal white person. Once you start attacking white privilege, white supremacy, blah, 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 you're going to lose the white vote. You're going to lose white people. Doesn't matter what party they are in. You know, there are white Democrats who love white privilege, and you attack white privilege among white Democrats, they're not going to vote for you because they want the white privilege. They want their kids to have white privilege. You know, because it supersedes party lines. And that's what President Trump kind of understands, you know? And this is why I never condemn white supremacy. One, because I'm Korean. I'm proud to be Korean, and I have no problem with white people being proud to be white. I have no problem with black people being proud of black people. I have no problem with Hispanic people being proud of Hispanic people. And I think they have a constitutional right under the US Constitution to be proud of their race, to be proud of their ethnic group. If you say white people cannot say that white culture is superior, then you say Mexicans have no right to say Mexican culture is superior. Black Americans have no right to say black culture is superior. You're taking everybody's right to be proud of their culture or their ethnic identity away. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You cannot destroy American society and take away First Amendment rights by condemning white supremacy. White people have the right to be happy with their white supremacy. You know, it just, you know, I mean, I can never be white. I'm Asian. You know, my skin color is like Mexicans. You know, I look more Latino than anything else. I mean, I'm never going to be, you know, like non-white Latino because they're like white Latinos in Argentina. All over, you know, Latin America, white Latinos. You just look at Telemundo. It's filled with like blonde hair, blue-eyed Latina. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean, if you're a Latino, you know what I'm saying. And so, Yeah, I mean, it's like the problem with white progressive liberals is they live in a bubble, right? I mean, do you think a single attending or a single doctor who's Jewish in Germany ever expected their own professional association to forbid them to practice medicine in 1929? Do you think they expected that in a million years? Of course not. It came out of the left field. I mean, there were white supremacists in Germany, and all the liberals were always condemning white supremacists for decades. And, they thought, oh, they're safe, right? This was like how they were feeling. They ran in white liberal circles. But something got triggered at some point in German history, and somehow white liberals in Germany, white progressives in Germany, lost their control and their voice, and majority of the population swung not only right wing but extremely right wing. Nobody imagined that would happen in a million years in Germany, but it did. But these things happen in history, and in a sense, you could see it happening in America. I mean, all these white working class Democrats, union card members jumping to vote for a billionaire in 2016. Do you think that's normal? It's not normal process. But obviously they're pissed off by what the Democrats were telling them so much that they were going to vote for a billionaire who doesn't resemble them in any sense of the term. Right? These are card-carrying union members who work for peanuts, who've always, they participated in their union strikes for better pay, better conditions, right? I mean, all their life and work, and they decided to vote for what? A bourgeoisie, right? And if that doesn't explain what's happening in American society, nothing does. Society is not becoming more socialist or communist, it's becoming far right fascist. I mean, that's the trend that it's going right now. It's been going since 2016. If you have union members, the proletariat, voting in a billionaire bourgeoisie who's never worked a union job in his life, like Trump, that's just tell you what's going on in America. But these white progressives, they're just so blind, they don't see it. They're living in their little bubble. They don't understand what's going on. So when President Trump refused to condemn white supremacists, not only did he get the votes of the white supremacists, who are card-carrying members of KKK, Aryan Nation, and I don't know what other organizations there. I'm not white. I can't join any of these organizations. But he got the support of white moderates who are fed up with people attacking white privilege. There are white liberals in Virginia's 8th District who are sick of people taking white privilege. We're talking about people who voted for Hillary Clinton. We're talking about people who voted for Tom Byer in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County. White liberals, card-carrying liberal Democrats all their life, who are sick of being attacked for white privilege. And they're going to vote for Donald Trump just because he stood up for the white supremacists. See, that's something you don't understand if you're a white liberal progressive, because you don't know how people think. I'm a historian. I study psyche, historical process, what motivates people to do X, Y, and Z, cause and effect in society. That's what I've devoted to researching for decades. And I assure you, President Trump, quietly or actively supporting white supremacy, will give him popular legitimacy. So that's why white liberals don't understand. They think if you force people to take a professional development class, you're going to change society. It doesn't work that way. People are people, and people in power are always trying to control you, control your mind, control what you do, control what you think. And when people feel like you're trying to control them outside of their working hours, That's when they're going to be retaliating against you by voting against you. Right? They're like, hey, I'm talking about white people who are card carrying KKK. They're like 8 hours at work at Walmart, stacking shelves for minimum pay. I'm not going to talk about my ideology. I'm just going to do my work. I go home. I'm going to get together with my KKK friends, have a beer, eat pizza, kick back and watch some football and talk about how great white people are. Now, if you mess with that, their free time, you're asking for help. I'm a union member, I'm a union leader. I represented American Federation of Teachers, Local 6, Washington Teachers Union, at the 2018 National Convention of American Federation of Teachers, AFT. We have 1.6 million members. And one of the things that you have to understand, and I understand as a union leader, is that there are certain things that you could talk about. But there are certain things, if you talk about, you're going to lose the support. And so, workers, they are paid hourly, right? They're paid for their work hourly, especially working class. If they're paid $10 an hour, each hour is very, strictly monitored. And they work a lot of hard jobs. So, for them, working hours is very painful, right? But they're doing it because they need food, they need shelter, biological dictates forces them to work. They don't want you to come into their private lives. They don't want you to come into their families and tell them what to think, what to believe. They don't want that. And majority of white working class people are happy to be white supremacists. They're happy to be proud of their white race. They don't want you to mess with that. So that's what President Trump kind of understands. He doesn't fully understand it, but he kind of understands. Whereas Hillary Clinton did not understand because she was ideological. A lot of women are ideological. White liberal women are ideological, some of them. And we're talking about less than 100,000 of these in influential positions. And they can't see it. They're blind to it. Some see it. But they tend to be moderate. Yeah, that's why Hillary lost, because she did not understand the American people. Joe Biden understands the American people. He sees it. But the problem is he's kind of politically tied, right? He kind of had to toe the party line. And so that's why he's in a losing track. Yeah, so, but going back to chewing gum day, there are people who are really, really strict, especially female educators. They're not gonna let you go to the bathroom. They're absolutely dogmatic about this. They're not gonna let you go. You're gonna pee in your seat. I know teachers, elementary school teachers, who did not let their children go to school, bathroom, following the rules, and had several children pee on their seat. And when the parents came, they're like, well, it was a rule. I told them to go to the bathroom before class. They did. And I'm not gonna let them go during class. That's how they explain it to their parents. Yeah, there are a lot of teachers like this. Most of them are women. I don't know too many male teachers who be like that. But these white liberal females, they're scary sometimes, they're really dogmatic, they're, it's a little bit scary. So, chewing gum is like that too. Some teachers really get Nazi about it. They're like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but I'm sharing reality with you, Yeah, I think men tend to be more reasonable than women. And I think that's why men make better leaders at the national level, like the president of America. Because sometimes women are not rational, you know. Sometimes women are like so dogmatic, like you know they're like you know um, they don't have a heart, you know, when it comes to like their own ideology. Yeah, they don't have a heart, you know. They don't have a functional heart. They're not going to show you kindness or you know mercy, you know. And it's I think that's a problem, you know, with women leadership because often there are decisions that are made in a dogmatic way that doesn't make any sense, right? And so the third party, objective observers looking at the situation who are not vested in anything, even if they agree with the women leaders, they get turned off by it because they're like, you know, they're not in the middle of it. And they're like, how could that person be so lacking in empathy, so lacking in sympathy, you know? And that's why, you don't have too many women leaders around the world, you know, regardless of culture, you know, because I think it's a biologically wired trait for women, you know, and I think most men who've dated women would say that. They say, you know, you cannot win an argument with a woman because she's not going to be rational about it. Yeah, she's going to just assert her position, and you cannot convince her away from it with any reason or proof. And you know, if you're a woman who have had a boyfriend, you might have heard that from a guy. Because you know, I would say 99.9% of the guys feel that way. Who've had relationships with women, that women are irrational in the way they discuss issues. Like they're not going to give you any inch. I mean, I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule, but I think most men who've had relationships would say that about women. And if you're a woman, you probably heard that from your boyfriend or your husband. Um, but you know, it may be biological, it may be just an inborn trait, you know, because men are different from women. I mean, there's a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which kind of discusses differences in gender. People are different, you know. I mean, you know, men cannot get pregnant, women can. Women carry a child for 8 months in their womb, their own body. Men can't. So that experience is just reserved for women. And so it's a shared female gender experience that kind of gives them a different perspective. And maybe it's because of their like, you know, like, they're able to carry the baby for 8 months. I don't know any guys who are willing to do that for 8 months, you know? Because guys are, you know, I think they're a little bit more, you know, I think they're lacking in certain qualities that most women, if not all women, have that they need to carry a baby for 8 months in their womb. So maybe it's part of that, you know. Who knows? But anyway, yeah, it's virus is really bad. It's killing men and women alike. 922 people in America have died in the last 24 hours. So I was absolutely right. You know, over the weekend, you know, people get lazy. They report stuff a little bit late. So you may have a number that seems lower, but you know, I mean, 1,000 people are dying per day right now. We're heading into the flu season. I'm sure I'm absolutely right when I say millions of Americans will die in 6 month long flu season. It's 6 months long. I mean, we're not talking about like a week or two. We're talking about 6 months. That's half a year. Half a year long flu season is coming. And I'm sure millions of Americans will die. It only takes 60,000 people dying per state for 50 states to have 3 million people die. We're definitely going to have 60,000 per state. You know how proliferating COVID-19 is right now, and it's not even the flu season. You're going to have 6 months of flu season. You're going to have at least 60,000 die in every state. Most states will have far more than 100,000 die. I'm predicting more like 20 million Americans will die. And I'm sure I'm absolutely right in my prediction. But, you know, I'll give you an update every month. And let's talk in April 2021. We'll see I was right. millions of Americans will be dead by April 21, 2021. I'll be right. I'm predicting that every hospital will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. So Virginia Hospital Center will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. Unova Fairfax Hospital will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. Unova Alexandria will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. MedStar Georgetown Hospital will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. George Washington University Hospital will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. Children's National Hospital will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. Sibley Hospital in Washington, D.C. will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. And yeah, I mean, MedStar Washington Hospital Center will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. This area hospitals. Yeah, because you know what? There's several things that has happened, which is guaranteeing that will happen before Christmas. Number one, COVID-19 is everywhere, right? So it's not like March 2020 where many areas did not have COVID at all, like zero COVID. But now COVID-19 is everywhere. So that has changed going into this flu season. That's why it's guaranteed minimum 12 nurses will die in every hospital. Because every visitor can have COVID. Every patient who may not be showing symptoms can have COVID, you know. Right? And even if you test every day, by the time you caught a patient or a visitor who have COVID, it's too late. If you were exposed to that patient, you know, in some way, it's too late. You've already gotten it. So, and you can get COVID in other areas, not outside of the hospital. You know, when you're shopping for food or, you know, whatever. So COVID-19 being everywhere in America makes everyone more susceptible, but nurses as well. So that's one factor that is ensuring that minimum 12 nurses will die in the flu season before Christmas 2020. So it's like 90 days from now, right? Second factor is COVID-19 has mutated, it has changed to infect young people in large numbers. If you remember in March 2020, young people did not really get COVID in large numbers, but COVID-19 wants to kill as many as possible, so it's mutating to do that. So it's mutated to infect babies, and I'm calling that New York virus, and it's mutated, and that happened like in March, and it's mutated to kill or infect 20-year-olds in large numbers, and I'm calling that Florida virus that happened in June, May and June. And now, every 20-year-old nurses who just graduate from nursing school can get COVID and die from COVID in flu season. So that adds to the number of nurses who can get COVID and die from COVID. And unlike experienced nurses who've been in hospitals for 20, 30 years, exposed to all kinds of viruses and bacteria, some have developed natural immunity to certain bacteria and viruses. New nurses in their 20s, they haven't been in a hospital setting for long, so their immune system is weaker. They haven't developed immunity to all kinds of diseases and bacteria and viruses because they just started out in a hospital as a nurse. It's kind of like if you're an elementary school teacher starting out, you're gonna get sick a lot the first year because you're gonna be exposed to all kinds of children disease and illness that you have no exposure to if you're not a mother or a father, you know, and so you're gonna get sick a lot first year. You know, so 20-year-olds now can get COVID, and they can get all kinds of other things too. So a lot of 20-year-olds are going to die, nurses. I mean, 20-year-olds are dying all over America right now. Number three is we're going to have 6 months of COVID-19 in flu season, 6 months of flu season. Hospitals are going to fill up. it's going to be horrific. And it probably will start in October sometime. And hospitals may be all filled up in October in some areas. So November and December, 2 more months after the hospital is full. So you can imagine how many nurses are going to die, right? Can you imagine the craziness that's going to happen once the hospital is full and they try to make room for more patients? Because some hospitals will do that, violating all kinds of protocol. These people are dropping dead left and right. So they want to like prioritize, and some protocols will be not observed. Protocols that is meant to protect nurses' lives. So we're going to have a lot of nurses die. So these three factors are going to ensure that minimum 12 nurses die in Virginia Hospital Center by Christmas. Minimum 12 nurses die in Innova Fairfax Hospital by Christmas. Minimum 12 nurses die in Innova Alexandria Hospital by Christmas. Minimum 12 nurses will die in MedStar Georgetown University Hospital by Christmas. Minimum 12 nurses will die in Children's National Hospital by Christmas. Minimum 12 nurses will die in George Washington University Hospital by Christmas. Minimum 12 nurses will die at MedStar Washington Hospital Center by Christmas. Minimum 12 nurses will die in Sibley Hospital in Washington, D.C. by Christmas. You will see what I'm saying. I'm giving you rational reasons and evidence for why my theory will hold true. And those of you who are rational understand I'm making a very rational argument. I'm giving you proof and evidence that are grounded in reality, grounded in evidence-based research. So of course you're going to agree with me that minimum 12 nurses will die in every hospital in this area. In some hospitals, maybe we'll have like 20, 30, 40 nurses die. The most dangerous units are obviously emergency room and ICU, right? These are the most dangerous units. So most of the nurses will die in these areas. Yeah, I mean, it can't be avoided. And another factor that's adding to the problem is experts are saying that COVID-19 is airborne. It's aerosol. That obviously there isn't enough research in COVID, unfortunately, because COVID is so new. Scientific research takes decades to understand anything, decades of research to understand anything fully. Or not fully maybe, but close to fully. Now we've only had COVID-19 for less than a year. So of course, nobody understands exactly what this thing is. Nobody. But they have some ideas, they know parts and pieces, and scientific experts are saying that COVID-19 can be airborne or is airborne. Obviously, there are different strains of COVID-19, over 40 strains in January 2020. So now there may be over 100 strains. And some strains may be airborne, some strains may not be. It's also possible that COVID-19, some strains are airborne in certain circumstances. And obviously, you have to do research. You have to do research to understand what those circumstances are. You see why it takes like decades for scientists to realize and understand what's going on? Yeah. As you know, University of Pennsylvania has one of the best hospitals in the country. They don't even know what's going on with COVID-19. I received my bachelor's cum laude with honors from the University of Pennsylvania. And I interview high school students who apply to University of Pennsylvania. So I'm interviewing them again this year. Last application cycle, I interviewed, so I interviewed mostly in November for early decision. And then for regular decision, I interviewed from December to February. So I interviewed over 25 people for the last application cycle. And I'm interviewing over 20 people this application cycle that starts in November. So early decision applications are due to University of Pennsylvania on November 1st. I would encourage all of you to apply early decision. You have a much higher chance of getting in applying early decision than regular decision. So if you have any desire to go to University of Pennsylvania, I would say submit an early decision. Because if you get rejected in early decision, you aren't going to get accepted in regular decision because you have much higher chance of getting in an early decision. But you know, there's always like some group of high school students or valedictorians who think they're smart enough and they don't apply early decision to any Ivy League school and they get rejected to all the Ivy League school. That happens every year. We reject like over 4,000 valedictorians every year. And they all think they were going to get into like a few Ivy Leagues. You know, the majority of the 4,000 valedictorians that's number one in their high school that we reject are rejected by all the other Ivy Leagues. Yeah, every year that happens. If you're ranked number one, you better choose an Ivy League school. You want to apply a decision to that school. That's your best chance of getting in. Regular decision, you rank one, we have so many of them, you know, your chance of getting in is like is close to zero. We have like over 30,000 people applied and they're all amazing. You know, they're all amazing. So, yeah, I mean, if you want a chance to get into Penn, apply early decision. It doesn't matter if you're rank one, you still can get rejected in regular decisions. Like many people get rejected in regular decisions, rank ones. But anyway, yeah, that's a friendly advice. November 1st is still like a month away, so I'm just trying to help you here. But you know, every year you're gonna have these like you're full of it, you know, rank ones. Well, like I can get into every school. I'm number one in my school. They end up getting rejected to all the Ivy League schools. Yeah, it happens every year. 4,000 of them. Yeah, so you should listen to Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. I am the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. And I give you words of wisdom. When you abide by them, you're going to strive and thrive and grow. Receive glory, you know? If you get rejected all the Ivy League and end up into like Penn State University or something like, you know, you know, you know how tragic that is? You're ranked one. I mean, you couldn't come to University of Virginia if you apply early. This is maybe. You can still get rejected, or even if you're on a decision. It's very competitive, but you know, you might have gotten in. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, scientists are saying COVID-19 is airborne based on their scientific research. Why do you think they're lying to you? There are some people who are like, oh, they're lying. Why should they lie? Why should these pure scientists who are researching COVID-19 lie to you? I'm sure, I'm 100% positive some COVID-19 strains are airborne in some circumstances, at minimum, because there's scientific evidence-based research on it. I'm 100% certain that's true. Now the question is, under what conditions are COVID-19 airborne? Which strains of COVID-19 are airborne? These are the questions we should be asking. We should not doubt that COVID-19 is airborne when you have so many scientists who've researched it who say it is. And what's the point of having scientists if you don't believe them? Of course, COVID-19 is airborne. There's evidence and research on it. Like different scientists researching in different countries, different areas. Why should you doubt them? I mean, it doesn't make sense to doubt them. Why do you even send your kid to school if you're going to doubt, like, research by scientists? What motive do they have to lie to you? They have no reason to lie to you. They're doing their research. They're presenting their research. You know, so I'm 100% positive some strains of COVID-19 are airborne and some people will get infected by them and die. I'm 100% positive that happens. It probably happens more in ICU, in emergency room than any other unit, but it happens in hospital too. This is why I'm 100% sure that minimum 12 nurses will die by Christmas in every hospital in this area. I'm 100% sure. Minimum 12 will die. Obviously, the trick is not to be in that number, you know. I mean, I feel bad for like my cohort members, CNL 2020 Georgetown, who are working in ICU and emergency room now. You know, I was originally going to go to ICU and, you know, And then I thought to myself, I know COVID-19 is airborne, because all the scientists say it's airborne. Um, and I know COVID-19 is going to kill millions in flu season that's coming. Why should I go to ICU and emergency room and raise the risk level for COVID-19 death? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, no. Yes, ideally I want to go to ICU, but maybe after, we have, COVID-19, even if God takes COVID-19 away miraculously, yeah, I'll go to ICU, but not before then. Why should I risk myself? It's like when bungee jumping, I mean, it's safer because you have to go to safety measures, but COVID-19 isn't as safe. It's unpredictable. So parachuting, for example. And parachuting is safer than working in an ICU hospital. I mean, you have safety and stuff, but in flu season, 6 months, yeah, I would say working in ICU in 6 months of COVID-19 in flu season is far more dangerous than parachuting, like jumping off a plane with a parachute. You have higher chance of death working in an ICU. That's why I'm not working in ICU. Yeah, I mean, before COVID-19, I wanted to work in an ICU. I wanted to do my preceptorship, which is like a practicum, like last project in a master's program, 2-year master's program. I wanted to do that in ICU, but because of COVID-19, we couldn't do that. So yeah, so none of us had a preceptorship in the summer of 2020. But you see, so I realized, you need to work within the rules that God's word has given you. If you're going to go to bungee jumping or skydiving, you have higher chance of death from that than those who don't, if you do it regularly, right? If you drink and drive, you may not die, but you can. You see what I'm saying? I mean, obviously it's illegal, so you should never drink and drive. But so you engage in risky behavior, you have higher chance of death. And that's how God created the world, and that's how the world operates. It doesn't matter if you're a born again Christian or a non-Christian, it doesn't matter. The more you engage in risky behavior, the higher chance you're gonna have to die, and that's the way God has made the world to operate. Same with nursing world. If you work in an ICU or emergency room, you have higher chance of dying from COVID in flu season 6 months than if you don't, right? So if you are in ICU or emergency room and you don't want to die from COVID, you should transfer to another unit, or take a leave of absence for the 6 months of flu season because you have high chance of dying, And so I feel bad for my clinical nurse leader members who are working in ICU. I mean, they have a very high chance of dying before Christmas, I mean, I hope none of them die, and going to the ICU, intensive care unit, before COVID-19 was considered the greatest thing to do for a new nurse. It was very hard to do. But, in flu season of COVID-19, that's the most dangerous job. It's like you're asking for death. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I feel bad. I mean, I know that minimum 5 for my cohort of 25 clinical nurse leader, 2020 members at Georgetown will die before Christmas. I'm pretty sure about that. Unfortunately, I don't want you guys to die. Obviously, I love you guys, but at least 5 will die. This is a global pandemic that's killing. It's killing 1,000 every day. Look, 922 people died in the past 24 hours. So we do a cheer again for my clinical nurse leader members. CNL 2020, Georgetown University, yay! We graduated in August 24, 2020, yay! You may die from COVID before Christmas, but at least they can't take that away from you. You got pinned in May. You graduated in August 24th. They can't take that away from you, even if you die before Christmas 2020. Yay, CNL 2020, CNL 2020. Probably you can at least write down in your tomb, Georgetown Masters in Clinical Nurse Leader, August 24, 2020. If you pass your NCLEX RN, you can put RN after your name and MS. you know, um, and if you pass CNL, you're RN MSCNL. That's what I put behind my name now. Because I have RN license from District of Columbia, RN license from Virginia, which is like multi-states. I practice as an RN nurse in like 30 different states in America. And then I have clinical nurse leader certificate nationwide. So I can put those titles after my name. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not planning to die before Christmas. That's why that's why I don't want to work in an ICU. I'm like, even if you pay me more, because you get paid more if you work in ICU, even if you pay me more, I wouldn't want to go to work in ICU during 6 months of flu season. That's like asking for death. I mean, if a top people die at a hospital, like a Fairfax Hospital, like 8 of them will be like in ICU. You know what I'm saying? ICU or emergency room. Or maybe more, maybe like 10 out of 12. So yeah, that's like the most dangerous job. Because you're taking care of critically ill patients, right? They're at the worst level of disease process. And like they're spewing all kinds of stuff all the time, and because it's airborne, it's like everywhere in the ICU room. A little crack in your mask and you can get it. Yeah, so, Bill Gates has said millions more will die before COVID-19 is over. It's not going to be over. So you got to revise that position. It's a 365 days a year virus. It's like AIDS virus. It's like hepatitis C virus. It's 365 days a year. And they've been around for decades. COVID-19 is going to be around for decades, yeah, I've been calling to make better respirators, protect yourself, because I don't think vaccines will succeed for decades at least, and there will be no cure. Like hepatitis C, there's a functional cure, they say, after the decades of research, but it doesn't work for everybody. And there's no vaccine. HIV virus doesn't have vaccine or cure. You can lower the viral load, but people with HIV die in hundreds of thousands every year. And it's harder to get HIV when you can have sex with somebody who has HIV or share a needle that punctures your skin and goes into your bloodstream to get HIV. But with COVID-19, all you have to do is breathe on somebody, they'll get it. You just have to have somebody breathe on you and you'll get it, So, yeah, it's going to be killing millions every flu season in America. But that's the new reality. There's no law in nature that says that can happen. That every flu season millions die from this disease. It can happen. Yeah, that's just life, I mean, there are civilizations that have been wiped out by disease. Even in America, smallpox has wiped out like whole nations, whole ethnic groups. When Christopher Columbus came to the New World and all these conquistadors started arriving, they didn't have to lift their swords. I mean, their disease that they were carrying, they're just carrying, killed off like the whole civilizations. Yeah, and so that can happen in America. What makes you so special that you can't go extinct? You know what I'm saying? There's no rule in the world that says you can't go extinct, you and your ethnic group. Yeah, so 922 have died in 24 hours, and this is not, well, we're kind of entering flu season, but it's, confirmed cases are 7,229. 7,229,723 cases. So 40,000 have gone up since yesterday. Confirmed death are 206,888. So it's gone up 922 since yesterday. It's bad. And Latin America, they had horrific death numbers. I'm calling Latin America content of COVID-19 death. It's going to get worse. They're going to have millions of deaths. You know, it's going to be horrific. It's going to be horrific. I feel so bad for Latinos in Latin American countries like Brazil, Colombia, Peru, and Argentina, Mexico. It's going to be so bad for them, you know. It's not going to say, oh, you guys are poor in certain areas, so you're not going to get COVID. God doesn't do that. COVID is everywhere. It's going to infect rich people, poor people. In fact, poor people get it. God allows them to get it. Obviously, God's in control. Nothing can happen without God letting it happen. So God's letting a lot of poor people die of COVID. That's just a fact. Brazil has 4,810,935 cases. It's a 3% death rate. 143,952 people have died. Colombia is number 2. And it's significantly lower than Brazil, but it's rising. You know, 829,679 cases, a 3% death rate, which is the same death rate as Brazil. 25,998 have died. And these are not slowing down in Latin America. Deaths are growing in Latin America. It's going to be horrific. Peru has 811,768 cases, 4% death rate, 32,396 deaths. You see that rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, rank 5 are similar case numbers. So you can see that they're going to eventually catch up to Brazil because their death rates are rising. Argentina is rising very fast. 751,001 cases, 2% death rate. So death rate is still low, but 16,937. These nations all had less than 1,000 deaths in like March 2020. Things can change radically. Argentina, you know, we had what, 7,000 deaths in April, beginning of April, in our nation. Look, we have 206,000 now. Yeah, things can happen radically quickly with that, like the blink of an eye. That's what I'm saying. We may see an exponential growth of death in October. And hospitals can fill up capacity in October. It can happen without you blinking. It can happen like in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. Yeah, so Mexico's number 5, 743,216. Deaths at 77,646, 10% death rate. It's probably a lot of drugs in Mexico. Evidence-based research shows that people who do drugs have higher chance of dying from COVID, like marijuana, you know, cocaine, methamphetamines. That may explain why there are so many people dying in America too, because there's a lot of people who use drugs. Yeah, it's supposed to lower your immune system against COVID. So you shouldn't be doing any narcotics or marijuana, cocaine anyway. But if you should stop if you want to live through this thing. Yeah. Airborne means they float around in the air. Yeah, this is why I said, you know, we need to close Georgetown University down. I worked 3 months to close Georgetown University down. Thank God I succeeded. I probably saved like hundreds of lives by closing Georgetown University down. So, you know, Georgetown is 100% online for undergraduates and graduate students. I worked over 3 months to close down 100% of the public schools in Virginia's 8th district. There are 4 public school districts: Arlington Public Schools, which is for Arlington County; Alexandria City Public Schools, which is for the whole city of Alexandria; Fairfax County Public Schools, which is for all of Fairfax County. Part of Fairfax County is Virginia's 8th district. Part of it is Virginia 10th district. Part of it is Virginia 11th district. All of Falls Church City is under public schools are under Falls Church City Public Schools. So these 4 school districts were 100% online. I've worked hard. Fairfax County was going to partially open. I bombarded Fairfax County Public Schools with heat every day. Several of them every day until they closed down. You know, Yes, you know I'm a leader. I'm a leader of Business 8 District. I'm running for U.S. Congress in Business 8 District. I'm going to fight for you. Even before I get elected to office, I want your children to live. I want you to live. You know, COVID-19 is airborne. Research shows it's airborne. We don't know under which conditions. We don't know which strains, but we know some of it is airborne. Just being in a classroom that has ceiling and four walls makes you vulnerable for getting COVID. You know, you may have a classroom with no students having COVID. It only takes one student with COVID, releasing that in the air, to infect multiple students. If you hold enough classrooms, eventually this is going to happen. It's just basic, simple logic. It's science. You know, I don't know why Virginia Governor Northam is ignoring science. I don't know why New York Governor Cuomo is ignoring science and not shutting down all the schools and colleges in New York. It just doesn't make sense. It's science. If you open classrooms with ceiling and four walls, airborne strains of COVID-19 will spread and infect people. In the flu season, many are going to die. We're going to have thousands of children dying in every state. Thousands, probably tens of thousands of children dying in every state in the 6 months of flu season, 6 months long. It's 6 months, 6 months. Thousands of children, tens of thousands of children in every state. Is that what you want? I mean, geez, we have the technology to go 100% online. Learning, why don't we use it, right? Yes, COVID-19 kills, but because you are being an easy prey to COVID-19, we're going to have tens of thousands of children dying every state because you're making it easy for COVID-19 to kill you and your children by sending them to either a classroom with four walls and a small ceiling, low ceiling. It's airborne. There are airborne strands among COVID-19. Why do you doubt the science? Why do you think the scientists are lying to you? What motivation do they have to lie to you? It doesn't make sense. It's shocking that New Yorkers with all their college degrees are going to reject the science. I mean, you know millions of them are going to die. I mean, that's coming. It's shocking that New Yorkers are being so stupid. You know, can New York go extinct? That's the question for today. Article number 1. COVID-19 clusters in New York growing at an alarming rate. Right? We're talking about a state that's boasting like, oh, we don't have any cases anymore. And what did Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress, say? You're going to get cases soon, and eventually you're going to have spikes. Going into flu season, you're going to have a lot of death. Am I right or am I right? I'm right. So, you know, Heerak told you so. So this article is by Bernadette Hogan, New York Post, September 30th, 2020, today. And the significant quote that is important for you to see is, the outer borough COVID spike is growing. City Hall revealed late Wednesday, and today is Wednesday, that the major southern Brooklyn coronavirus outbreak cluster now spans from Brighton Beach all the way to eastern Crown Heights, as officials added a slew of new neighborhoods to the list of those witnessing concerning spikes in COVID test rates. This is how it started. Do you remember how April New York deaths that were in 30,000 started? This is how it started. And geez, this is exactly how it started. Do you remember? It was only like what, 6, 7 months ago? You probably already forgot. That's how quickly human beings forget. That's why history repeats itself, because people keep forgetting. It was only like 6, 7 months ago, and you already forgot New York, what it was like. You're gonna go through it again. Exactly the same process. It's shameful that you didn't learn your history. I mean, geez, these things can be avoided or minimized. I mean, it can't be completely avoided because COVID-19 is going to kill people. But even if you shut down New York State now, 100% shut down, you're going to have minimum hundreds of thousands of deaths. It's 6 months long. There's no cure. There's no way to prevent infection. People are already infected. It's going to continue to spread. Hundreds of thousands will still die, even if you shut down New York from now until May. Hundreds of thousands will die, even if you shut down. If you don't shut down, you're going to have millions of die. Watch. Let's talk again in April 2020 or May 2021. And also, I told you so. Here I told you so. That even if you shut down, you're going to have hundreds of thousands left. But you have like 2.5 million people dead now. You didn't shut down until like late. Yeah, that's the discussion we'll be having in May 2021. It's going to be tragic, New York. We may not have New York anymore. It's possible for 30% of New York City to die from COVID in the 6 months. That's like 3.5 million people just in the city of New York. You don't think this could happen? Well, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. 30,000 could die every day in New York City. Just in New York City. Yeah, let's see what happens. Theologically speaking, we know God is involved. You know, you see this book that I wrote. I'm an expert theologian. I'm certified expert theologian. So if you read my book, Hebrew, Jewish, and Early Christian Studies, you type in the title of the book and my name for Amazon or Barnes and Noble, you get the book. I'd encourage you to read the paper version just because there are footnotes you can see, and there are a lot of stuff in footnotes that are not in the audio book. Yeah, I mean, I think you'll be able to understand the theological dimensions of what's going on right now a little bit better after reading this book. Yeah, things are going to get really bad. Now, second article, Cuomo to local government as New York clusters worsen. Either you do the job or people will die. And this is an NBC New York today, September 30th. Article by Jennifer Millman. And the significant quote from that is, Governor Andrew Cuomo issued his harshest rebuke yet of local governments in New York City, Rockland County and Orange County Wednesday, blaming their incompetence for burgeoning COVID clusters and warning either you do the job or people will die. Governor Cuomo has to be a little more specific. What does he mean by do your job? I mean, people need like specific directions and instruction. I mean, if you talk in generalities, no one understands what you're saying. Communication is key. You know how many errors happen because of lack of effective communication? So Governor Cuomo needs to work with his communication skills. We need to know exactly what he means. What does he mean by do your job? What does he want the local leaders to do? You gotta communicate, Governor Cuomo. What do you want them to do to avert the death? You have to be specific. I'm specific in this show. COVID-19 update by Heerak. That's why people who watch this show know what they need to do to survive COVID. I give them actionable advice to survive COVID, right? You need to give actionable advice to people in leadership in New York local governments, or they won't know what to do, right? You see why you need to vote for me for U.S. Congress Division's 8th District? I know what we need to do to survive
it's YouTube
COVID.
Music. Download the app today and get a trial of Music Premium on us. Restrictions apply.
And maybe I should get an app. You can download that. You can just tune into my show every day through YouTube channel, which is Heerak Christian Kim for Congress YouTube channel. Just type in YouTube. Or you could go to my Twitter account, Heerak 4 Congress, Heerak number 4 Congress, and generally pinned at the top are my daily COVID-19 update show. So I probably don't need a app, right? Because you can just easily go to my Twitter account every day. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. That way, you can see the feeds as well. A lot of children are going to die. And your children, look how innocent they look. They're looking at you and trusting you with those eyes, trusting eyes. They trust that you will save their life, but you're risking their life by sending them to school. It's a shame that you're violating their trust. As you know, I'm Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. And I worked for 3 months to shut down every single public school in Virginia's 8th District. Arlington County Public Schools, Alexandria City Public Schools, Falls Church City Public Schools, and Fairfax County Public Schools. Why? Because I don't want your children to die. We're talking about science here. COVID-19 is a virus that kills indiscriminately. And if you go inside a classroom and put the children there with 4 walls and a ceiling, you're like putting them in a cage of death. Your child's classroom becomes cage of death. And now scientists have been saying for months that it's airborne. Some COVID-19 strains are definitely airborne. That's 100% positive, beyond the shadow of the doubt. So, one of these strains, we don't know how many of them have these properties and under which conditions, but they can infect your child just by sitting in the classroom. They could be like 10 feet apart. They could be like 15 feet apart. They could still get COVID inside an enclosed space if it's airborne. Yes, it doesn't matter how far they social distance in a room with 4 walls and a ceiling, they could still get it. That's what makes airborne very dangerous. Why do you think I was trying to shut down Virginia 8th District public schools? Because scientists have proof that it's airborne, which means it doesn't matter where your child is in that room. They could be 15 feet apart from every student. They'll still get COVID if someone has COVID. That's why I tried to shut down every school, and I succeeded. I worked hard every day for 3 months to advocate for you, because that's what nurses do, advocate for their patients or people. Everybody's a patient in public health, right? When there's a global pandemic, every one of you in Virginia's 8th District are basically my patients in a way, because it's a global pandemic, right? It's a special situation. And I'm a clinical nurse leader, so this is within my scope of practice, to provide assistance for public health, to help preserve life. And that will hold up in any court of law. What I'm doing is public service in line with my scope of practice as a clinical nurse leader. I'm just trying to save your life. But there are people who want to lie to you and make your children vulnerable so they could die from COVID. 6 months, next 6 months is going to show you what I did to save your lives, your children's lives, because we can compare Virginia's 8th District, where all the schools shut down, with like Prince William County, where schools didn't shut down, and we could see the death rates. We compare and contrast. And you'll see it'll be heaven and hell, the number of children who died. So compare within Virginia, close by in Northern Virginia. So you'll see in the next 6 months what will happen. But this is at a national level. We have 50 states with schools not shut down. We're going to have tremendous number of people die. A lot of teachers are going to die. A lot of students are going to die. A lot of students' parents are going to die. We're going to have like 20 million deaths. I'm saying minimum 3 million deaths in America, but I'm saying more like 20 million Americans will die. Just watch. We're just talking about science here. I'm presenting evidence-based research using evidence, logic, rationality, history of pandemics. 1/3 of the world's population died during the bubonic plague. 1/3. COVID-19 can kill 1/3 of the world's population. That's 2.5 billion people. It only started less than a year ago. This can continue for decades. There's no law that says this has to go away. But do you see HIV disappearing after decades of existence? No. Do you see hepatitis C virus disappearing after decades of existence? No. Hepatitis C virus kills hundreds of thousands every year, gives cancer in the liver to many hepatitis C chronic patients. HIV virus kills hundreds of thousands every year. And it gives cancer to many HIV patients. Geez, you know, their HPV virus, there is a vaccine for that, but HPV virus can give cervical cancer to people who have HPV, get infected with HPV. These are all facts. These are all scientific facts. So people who are trying to suppress the truth, suppress the science, suppress the law of nature, law of creation, you should be ashamed of yourself. People are dying at the rate of 1,000 per day. This is not normal. This is an emergency situation. If the United States were being bombed by China and 1,000 people are dying every day, do you think you'll be like, oh, it's not a problem? 1,000 people are dying every day. You think this is a normal situation in America? Is that how you see it? In the flu season, that's going to exponentially grow. There are experts now who are coming around to Heerak Christian Kim's position, as they should be, and saying that 30,000 would die per day in America in the flu season. Yeah, there are articles out about that. I'm glad that scientists are beginning to be more honest and realistic about what's going to happen in the flu season. Yes, 30,000 people can die per day. We're just talking about science here. Far more than that could die per day in America. So let's see what happens, right? You'll see the science, decades, centuries of scientific research. You will see it and experience it yourself in the flu season. You can't just ignore the science and all the research and say, oh, we're going to be okay. You're not going to be okay. You're not going to be okay in the flu season. Why am I saying that so brutally, honestly? Because you need to prepare psychologically for this flu season. You need to prepare in terms of arranging your family to survive COVID-19. If you think you're going to survive this COVID-19, you're not going to survive COVID-19. You need to be realistic about what's coming. You can't like live in a la-la land thinking that you're going to survive COVID, that it's just going to go away. It's not going to go away. This is the most serious thing to happen to the world in 100 years. This is far worse than any wars, any nuclear war. This can kill far more than any nuclear war between Russia and US in the height of Cold War. As I said, if this continues for decades, killing millions every flu season, we can have 2.5 billion people die in the next decade or two. That can happen. 1/3 of the world's population can die. And maybe we'll reach herd immunity where it stopped. Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, you could expect the scientific potential of 2.5 billion people to die from COVID. That is possible scientifically. These things have happened in history. These things can happen again in history. If you doubt that 2.5 billion people can die, give me the evidence. Show me the evidence for why you are saying 2.5 billion people cannot die from COVID. Give me the evidence. There is not a single person out there in the world, a science expert who will say that it's impossible for 2.5 billion people in the world to die from COVID in the next few decades. There isn't one person who will deny that possibility. As Dr. Fauci, is it possible for 2.5 billion people to die from COVID-19 if it continues for decades? Ask him. Ask him. He'll say yes. Ask Dr. Redfield, director of Center for Disease Control, can 2.5 billion people die in the world if COVID-19 continues to kill at the current rate of growth for decades? Ask him. And you could ask mathematicians to a mathematical calculation based on the exponential growth graph started in November to now, and ask them, when will 2.5 billion people die from COVID-19 if this continues for decades? They could give you a precise date. If this rate continues at this rate, they could give you precise year by, when 2.5 billion people in the world would have died. Yeah, mathematicians can do that. It will be a prediction, but it could be true. You could ask any scientist, Dr. Gottlieb, former FDA director, Dr. Hahn, who's a current FDA director, Emma Gruer, who's an MD, medical doctor, who's head of, it's Homeland Security, medical division, or Health and Human Services. Surgeon General Adams, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, ask them if it's impossible for 2.5 billion people to die from COVID. They will all tell you it is possible for you to die from COVID-19, and it is possible for 2.5 billion people in the world to die from COVID-19 in the next few decades. That's 100% possible if it continues for decades, which it looks like it's going to do. Why do you doubt science? Why do you doubt the history of pandemics? Why do you doubt these things can happen? Give me evidence for your doubt. Give me evidence. Why do you ignore the science? It's happened before. It could happen again. What, you think you're God or something? That you're like so special, you're not gonna die from COVID? You think like you're so special in New York that your city cannot be wiped out from COVID, in terms of population? Like 3.5 million people may die in this flu season from COVID. You don't think that's possible if you just keep like socializing at close distances? Why do you think you survive COVID? What makes you a Superman? Are you from Krypton? You see what I'm saying? You're being ridiculous when you're acting like you're a god. You're full of it. You're not a god. You can't survive COVID-19. Why? You think you're God and you're immortal? You've been watching too many vampire movies. You're not immortal. You're a fragile human being who can get COVID and die. Every single one of you watching this show. You gotta get real here. We have 6 months of flu season. That's a half a year. Millions of Americans are gonna die. No, just get Dr. Fauci to deny that millions of Americans are going to die. I dare you to ask him the question, is it possible for millions of Americans to die from COVID in 6 months of flu season? I dare you to ask Dr. Fauci and have it recorded on record, go on record. I would love to see Dr. Fauci deny that millions will die, could die. I would love to see Dr. Redfield say millions may die. No one would deny that because they know it can happen. It's science. Even a simple student in college who studies pandemics understands this can happen. Experts are not going to deny that millions can die in the flu season. Not a single one. Because that's science. So that's why I'm saying minimum 3 million will die in America. I don't believe in the liberal media, fake news, right? I give you facts from science. I give you facts from history. I give you facts from the Bible, right? Lies are not going to save you. The truth is going to save you. Truth is out there. Truth is out there. Right? And I'm giving you the truth that you need to survive COVID-19. You need to get serious. You need to prepare for the flu season. When we say 3 million Americans minimum will die, that could include you. Just remember that. Obviously, I'm trying to help you survive COVID-19. That's why I created this show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. 1,000 Americans are dying every day. And it's not even flu season, technically. Or we're like at the beginning, very beginning of it. Yeah. You need to get prepared. You need to worry. Not like worry, like, worry for no reason. But you need to prepare to save your children. You need to prepare to save yourself, your wife, your parents. You need to do things to prepare, right? That's how you're going to survive COVID. That's why I created this show, to help you prepare. This is a daily show, as you know, so tune in tomorrow. I'll bring you more information on how you can survive from COVID. And I encourage you to take the advice. Obviously, you're not a slave. You could do what you want. But I encourage you to take the advice, because I want you to survive. I created this show to help you survive, you and your children, you and your parents. So you should take this advice. Yeah. Yeah, and if you're applying to colleges, apply to University of Pennsylvania. And if you get COVID, come to Virginia Hospital Center, or any other condition, that you may have, heart attack, stroke, difficulty breathing, any kind of problem you have, just come to Virginia Hospital Center. We'll take good care of you,